Welcome to episode 91 of your CYSA Plus Prepcast. In today's session, we are taking a closer look at one of the most dangerous and frequently exploited threats in cybersecurity, privilege escalation. This threat enables attackers to elevate their access from a limited user role to administrative or root-level control over systems. With such elevated privileges, an attacker can bypass controls, extract data, maintain persistence, and move laterally across a network. Understanding how privilege escalation works, how it is detected, and how it is mitigated is not only vital for protecting modern environments, but also a key area of focus for your CYSA Plus exam preparation. Let's begin by clearly defining privilege escalation. Privilege escalation is the process by which an attacker increases their level of access to a system or resource beyond what was initially granted. This can occur by exploiting vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, or weaknesses in security policy. What begins as access to a low-privilege user account can quickly become full control of a system if proper safeguards are not in place. Privilege escalation often serves as a stepping stone to more advanced attacks, including data exfiltration and total system compromise. There are two fundamental types of privilege escalation: vertical and horizontal. Vertical privilege escalation involves moving from a lower level of access to a higher one, such as from a regular user account to administrator or root. Horizontal escalation, by contrast, occurs when an attacker gains access to resources or privileges assigned to another user at the same level, essentially impersonating or invading peer-level accounts. Both types pose serious risks, but vertical escalation typically has more catastrophic consequences due to the control it grants over system configurations and data. The techniques used to escalate privileges are diverse and continuously evolving. Analysts observe attackers leveraging software bugs, such as those found in system services or drivers, as well as configuration flaws that leave sensitive files or commands exposed to unprivileged users. Insecurely implemented authentication systems, improper permission settings on critical executables or directories, and reliance on hard-coded credentials are all examples of common vectors. Analysts must stay informed about these weaknesses and use a structured approach to identify and prioritize them. Some of the most dangerous privilege escalation attacks exploit kernel-level vulnerabilities or rely on buffer overflow conditions to manipulate memory and gain control. Attackers may use local exploits to trigger unauthorized privilege execution paths or take advantage of overlooked inheritance structures in cloud environments. In containerized systems, poor separation between container and host can lead to privilege boundary violations. Analysts must be equipped to understand these technical risks and correlate them with the environment they are responsible for protecting. Once an attacker achieves privilege escalation, their capabilities expand rapidly. They can disable logging, install rootkits, access encrypted data, manipulate system processes, or create new administrative accounts to preserve access. These actions often go undetected unless effective monitoring is in place. Privilege escalation is not just a point-in-time event. It is often part of a broader campaign where attackers build out a persistent presence within a compromised environment. Early detection and mitigation are essential to prevent deeper compromise. To identify privilege escalation vulnerabilities before they are exploited, analysts rely on a mix of automated and manual techniques. Vulnerability scanning tools highlight misconfigurations, outdated software, and improperly assigned permissions. Penetration tests simulate real-world escalation attempts, allowing analysts to determine whether existing controls are sufficient to prevent exploitation. Configuration audits further validate whether file systems, services, and access controls are hardened against unauthorized changes. Proper documentation is a central part of managing privilege escalation risks. Analysts record each identified vulnerability, the method of potential exploitation, the assets affected, and the remediation steps taken. They also document prioritization rationale, such as the likelihood of exploitation or the sensitivity of affected systems. This documentation supports transparent vulnerability management, facilitates audit readiness, and ensures that privilege escalation issues are not repeatedly overlooked or deferred. Staying current on evolving threats is critical. Analysts monitor threat intelligence sources, including vulnerability advisories, public exploitation databases, and incident reports, to identify emerging privilege escalation techniques. Zero-day vulnerabilities and proof-of-concept exploits often appear first in these channels, long before patches or mitigations are widely available. By tracking this information in real time, analysts can update policies, deploy interim controls, or initiate patching efforts proactively. Effective privilege escalation risk management goes beyond detection. It involves structured prioritization. Analysts assess privilege escalation vulnerabilities not only by technical severity, but also by business impact. Systems that host sensitive data or have access to critical infrastructure are given top priority. Remediation planning is guided by exploit availability, known attack campaigns, and internal exposure assessments. This risk-centric approach ensures that the most dangerous gaps are addressed first and that remediation aligns with real-world threat models. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Detecting privilege escalation attempts in real time requires a robust monitoring and alerting infrastructure. Analysts configure comprehensive logging across systems, applications, and identity platforms to capture critical events such as user privilege changes, authentication anomalies, process creation with elevated permissions, and unexpected access to sensitive directories. These logs are fed into centralized monitoring platforms, enabling analysts to correlate behaviors, identify privileged misuse patterns, and respond rapidly to unauthorized activities. By creating alert rules tailored to privilege events, analysts can detect escalation attempts as they occur and trigger incident response procedures without delay. Endpoint detection and response solutions, security information and event management systems, and user and entity behavior analytics platforms are powerful tools analysts use to identify privilege escalation activities. These platforms apply behavioral analytics to detect abnormal account behavior, such as a low-privilege user suddenly executing commands typically associated with administrators. By analyzing baselines and deviations, analysts can spot stealthy privilege escalation attempts that might otherwise evade traditional detection methods. The visibility provided by these tools enables quicker identification of compromise, better scoping of incidents, and more effective containment strategies. Penetration testing is another essential element of privilege escalation defense. Analysts conduct structured penetration tests that specifically target known privilege escalation vectors, including misconfigured file permissions, vulnerable services, weak access control models, and unpatched privileged vulnerabilities. These tests simulate realistic attack scenarios, allowing analysts to validate existing defenses and uncover weaknesses before adversaries do. Testing outcomes guide immediate remediation efforts and provide valuable insights into the effectiveness of access control policies and security configurations. Secure privilege management is a core mitigation strategy. Analysts enforce the principle of least privilege throughout the environment, ensuring that users and processes operate with the minimum level of access required to perform their roles. Administrative privileges are restricted to dedicated accounts, and access to privileged systems is tightly controlled through role-based access models. By reducing the number of privileged accounts and tightly managing access to them, organizations limit the opportunities for escalation and improve accountability across user activity. Analysts also implement strict controls over privileged accounts. These include the use of privileged access management systems, time-limited administrative access tokens, credential vaulting solutions, and mandatory multi-factor authentication for all elevated access. Analysts enforce password complexity and expiration policies, regularly rotate credentials, and monitor privileged account usage for anomalies. These controls reduce the risk that attackers can hijack or escalate existing accounts to gain higher privileges within the system. Hardening system configurations is another effective way to prevent privilege escalation. Analysts ensure that operating systems are configured with secure file and directory permissions, unnecessary services are disabled, and kernel-level protections are enabled. Application configurations are reviewed for default or insecure settings, and container environments are assessed for escape vulnerabilities. Strong access control lists and enforced file integrity monitoring help maintain system security postures that resist escalation attempts, even in the presence of initial compromise. Timely patching plays a vital role in minimizing the attack surface for privilege escalation. Many privilege escalation techniques rely on known software vulnerabilities, which can be closed through regular updates and vendor patches. Analysts track patch release schedules, cross-sectioner them with internal asset inventories, and prioritize patch deployment for high-risk systems. Delaying patches on privilege-sensitive components exposes the organization to unnecessary risk, especially when public exploits become available before remediation is complete. Proactive threat hunting adds another defensive layer. Analysts actively search for signs of privilege misuse or potential escalation techniques within their environments, even in the absence of confirmed incidents. Threat hunting exercises focus on identifying hidden footholds, misconfigured permissions, or anomalies in user activity that could suggest a compromised account attempting to escalate. These initiatives improve detection speed, reveal overlooked weaknesses, and strengthen the organization's overall security readiness. Continuous training ensures that analysts remain proficient in recognizing and responding to privilege escalation threats. Training programs include hands-on labs, red team, blue team exercises, incident simulations, and exploration of new attack techniques. Analysts stay current with emerging tools used in escalation attacks, such as privilege escalation exploit kits, privilege enumeration tools, and lateral movement frameworks. The ability to interpret these tools and techniques during threat detection and response is crucial for maintaining an effective defense posture. Finally, analysts maintain detailed documentation covering every aspect of privilege escalation management. This includes assessment results, mitigation plans, monitoring strategies, account access policies, and incident response protocols. Documentation supports compliance requirements, provides visibility to stakeholders, and ensures that escalation risks are tracked over time. Through transparent and repeatable documentation practices, analysts contribute to a resilient cybersecurity framework that reduces privilege threats and accelerates recovery when incidents occur. To summarize Episode 91, understanding and defending against privilege escalation threats is a critical responsibility for cybersecurity analysts. By focusing on secure privilege management, comprehensive monitoring, structured penetration testing, configuration hardening, proactive threat hunting, and continuous analyst education, organizations can significantly reduce the risk of attackers gaining unauthorized elevated access. These core skills are essential for your success on the CySA Plus certification exam and are foundational to building a security program capable of withstanding sophisticated attacks. Stay with us as we continue your journey towards cybersecurity mastery. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.